Welcome to Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm I'm Pete.
Jesus.
And I'm Giff.
What just happened?
I don't know. That's not for. Anyway, go on.
All
Who are you,
right.
Giff? All right.
Well, we got a special one cooked up for you here tonight.
Do we ever?
We're all drinking for this one
Yes. Why are we drinking, Pete?
because this is really the celebration. It's the culmination of all our hard work over an entire year, and this is officially our season finale.
The culmination. So
And
we
we
have
don't-
been a podcast.
This has all been building up to this.
It
Right?
has been published since late January last year. Now, our first official episode, if you were going to look at the dates, came out in February. But that's because we have two lost episodes that came out before that. And we'll get into that here later.
Where are they?
Some of our really longtime fans might know what we're talking about there. But yeah, we've been doing this for a year, and we're very excited we made it this far. We're really pleased with ourselves.
We're still friends. We still haven't killed each other.
That's true. In fact, it's getting stronger.
I didn't think that would be possible, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. All right. Well, hey, Pete, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some kind of white wine. I think it's a table wine, and it's only because you guys all said let's have a beer, and there was no beer in the house. I did have a bunch of Fulton Lonely Blondes in the fridge to start the weekend, but it was a 3-day weekend, and I, kind of went nuts. So
Kind of went nuts.
No.
So we
dry
had some
January
wine in the
for-
fridge,
for Pete.
and so here.
So
I
you
am
adjusted.
drinking
It's
wine.
good. You're
I
thinking
did.
on your feet.
That's right. Got to adjust. We're very agile here in Pop Culture Yearbook.
How about
Right.
you, Giff?
What are you drinking, Giff?
Well, in honor of 30-degree temps up here in Bemidji, Minnesota, I'm drinking a summer shandy because it feels like summer up here today.
That's right.
That is how it is. Probably especially in Bemidji, yeah.
Yeah, quite nice.
I've got it's not a Minnesota beer, but I think we've taken it under our wing because this is where you get it.
Right.
Right? They don't have this on tap anywhere else, right?
No,
No,
and I
Michelob-
believe it's a huge seller in Minnesota.
The old
It's
Michelob
only
Golden Draft
available.
Light.
I was surprised, and some of our listeners might be going like, "What is that?" Because we got listeners all over the world now. And
yeah,
I remember
Every
once
continent.
not knowing Antarctica.
Inhabited.
Our Antarctican market is huge now. Anyway, I once went to Rhode Island thinking, not knowing, I think it was like right after I turned 21 or shortly thereafter. I just thought Michelob was a national brand, and I tried to order one, and they looked at me like I was nuts. But you know what? If
And
you
it
do
is-
go out east,
It's
It's-
Anheuser-Busch.
yeah,
St.
it's
Louis,
brewed in
Missouri.
St. Louis, but you can't. I don't think you can get it down there. Maybe you can.
Well, I
but-
think
It's
and
a
I think
regional beer.
Michelob is a national brand, but Michelob Golden Draft, that's like
Yeah, it's regional.
that's what we have.
True.
That's what Minnesotans love.
right.
Yeah, why is
You
that?
can,
I
you
don't
can
know.
find it in
I don't
I'm assuming the Dakotas and Wisconsin and Iowa as well. It's definitely more of a regional beer. But
But
yes,
if you go out
national.
east like I was, you get Yingling. That's the beer to get out.
Oh, I had a
out,
bunch of those in Florida last month.
Yes. If you
Okay.
go west of or east of about Ohio, I'm not sure it's in Ohio, but like Pennsylvania and further east, it's
See, I didn't know that though. I thought that was like more of just a Florida beer, I didn't know it was northern East Coast.
no, it's like East Coast. I found out about it when my sister lived in Baltimore for a while, and that's what they would bring home as like a Christmas gift, and it's
Okay.
fantastic.
Is it brewed in Florida?
I don't think it's brewed in Florida. I think it's brewed in one of the New England states. I can
Well,
look
that
it up
just-
right now.
That's new information to me.
It's a very hard word to spell, though. Yingling, Yeun something.
Starts with a Y.
Yeah, hey, I got it, but
All right. So anyway,
you keep going. I'll find it. You keep going.
we're having a good time. We're very excited. Mostly, this is about finishing season 1 and thanking the people who have listened to us and looking ahead to season 2 and what we might try to do. So, we're going to start with our highlights of the year.
Yes.
And so these could be your favorite episode we recorded or something else in general. You just whatever. What's a highlight of being in the podcast game?
Before we move on to that, I do have an
Oh.
update. There are a total of 3 Yingling breweries. 2 are located in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and 1 is in Tampa, Florida.
Oh,
there
it
you
is
go.
brewed in Florida.
So
then.
it is Florida.
Right. Pennsylvania and Florida.
Right.
Awesome.
Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
That's fun
If
to
we were
say.
playing categories, that would be a 2-pointer.
I'm picturing Joey and the war guy in the movie he was making where they spit on each
right.
other.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
Oh yeah, it was Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, I want to start with my first highlight, and then you guys can do one. I've got 3 things written down, but my first highlight. This ties into our episode last week because Gifford, you started to get a little sentimental, and my first highlight is you. It's having you on here.
Well, that's very
Because-
kind of you.
So we started this with our friend Dave, me and Pete and Dave.
Mhm.
And Dave made the decision. That's why we have these 2 lost episodes. Dave made the decision that he didn't want to do it like the public stuff anymore, but he was still a big part of our whole year in planning. And we
Was.
referred to him many times, and he did get on and do, I think, 4 episodes with us. So if
Yep.
you've been listening, you know who he
09.
is.
Yep.
And so it was a big shock when we lost him, and it was a surprise. And me and Pete were going to go on out alone, but we found out that you were just our number 1 fan up there in Bemidji, and it was just kismet. It all worked out that you joined us, and we're all eager to do it because I didn't know, even when you said you were listening, if you're really serious about like putting in it like full time, like you were going to be one. And it took a couple months to officially get to that point, but it did. And I think you've made this podcast so much better and so much more fun. And you brought up so you moved away. You're like 5 hours from me now.
Yep.
We used to live 2 miles from each other forever. And, when you moved away, we were still great friends, but we hardly ever spoke unless we were in
Yes.
person. We don't call each other. We did every once in a while, but I hate the phone.
Yeah.
I hate the phone too. God.
It started
Don't
with
ever
the
call me.
pandemic because we started doing these Zoom calls with people, which we could have done for our whole lives,
Right.
but nobody
just
ever
never did.
cared or thought to do it until the pandemic happened. And so we talked to you a few times with that 2 years ago, and then now that we talk to you almost a few times every month, and it's fantastic, and it feels like you never left, and I really appreciate it, and I love that you're here.
Well, thank you, Brad. That's very
And
kind
it was
of you.
very unexpected. Again, like when I saw Cruella last week and I said it was unexpected, I didn't expect you to join this podcast and want to be so involved. And so that made it even better.
Well, then they were easy expectations to blow out of the water. I agree with everything you said, Brad. It was awesome that I joined, and now I'm going to step aside and let Pete rain his praises upon me as well.
To be clear, this is not any slight on Dave in the least, because we enjoyed being with Dave.
No, I'm
too.
trying to make that clear.
Dave's
sure.
amazing. Yeah, Dave's great.
Chose not
We wouldn't
to do
be
it.
here
It's
without
fine.
him.
And there's no theater or drama or anything between us and Dave. It was just something that he chose to go a different direction. And so, yes, we are.
But
very
he also
thankful
gave
to
us
have-
the blessing to continue on, just you and me,
Yes.
Pete, at first, when it was kind
Absolutely.
of
This
like under
was
the
all
gun,
his-
like, what do we do now?
This was all his brainchild, and I do want to give a shout out to Dave because we love Dave as well. Yeah, I just think that a highlight for me that I had written down was just the continued evolution of the podcast itself. I think how we just kind of continued to evolve, worked through some issues that we were running into. If you listen to our first few episodes, our first couple of episodes were like 2 and 3 hours long. We made changes to adjust to that. We adjusted the format, and I just think that the show continues to get better and better. And so, yeah, it's a fun thing to see.
Speaking of, we
But
figured
yes,
out how
we'd
to
like
make
you
sure
to-
the sound was good.
Yes.
We actually, you and me recorded one episode 3 different times because could not figure out why the sound wasn't working right. And we finally did figure it out at least. And so there's a few of those old episodes that have some sound that's not so great, but we figured it out. And we had to adjust that too. We've used different calling methods to record it. And I want to give a shout out to Skype. I haven't heard of any podcasts that use Skype. That's why I didn't even know we could do it. But this is a free site, and we use it every week, and it sounds as good as any other thing I've ever listened to. So thank you,
Right.
Skype.
I would like to hearken back to actually a quote or something that Dave Grohl said in his, it's actually a biography, I think. It was This Is a Call, where
No, that's
he
not
was.
I buy it. Yeah, sorry. I
It's
thought
a
you said
biography, not an autobiography, right? And so
he just came
what
out
he
with his
said-
autobiography.
Right, which I haven't picked up yet. But in any event, it was in that one where he was explaining how he hates all the reality shows and everything, like American Idol and all of that kind of stuff, because that's not how you become truly great. How you become great is that you pick something up that you have not tried before, and you start out and you suck. You're going to suck at it for a while, and then you continue to get better and better and better, and that's how you become great in the end. And that's what our podcast is becoming.
So to sum up, you're saying we're great.
We are on our way to greatness.
We're improving.
I hope so.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
I mean, for me, the highlight, and I touched on this on the last podcast, just putting this together with you guys, getting to reconnect with you guys, is the best part for me, the highlight for me. But then just in general, just getting to go back and watch things from the different years, going back and watching Batman. I mean, Temptation Island, we needed to watch one episode, and I watched the whole season. Like, just these little fun things that you end up watching and remembering and coming up with, the different lists, and then diving into those and maybe watching a couple extra things that you weren't going to, but you just couldn't help yourself because, they're fun, and, it's a lot of fun that way. So I kind of wrote down some of my favorite episodes from this last year.
Okay, that was my next thing I was going to say. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, my favorite episode, I still think this is my favorite one that we've done so far. And again, selfishly, it was the first topic I got to pick, and that was the Friends topic. And the three of us going through our top 5 episodes and talking about those, when I listened back to that, we're laughing so hard talking about those episodes. I loved that. I thought that was such a great episode to do.
That was fun. And I know that one was a good one because my mom told me that my dad liked that one and was laughing at it.
Because my mom told me.
And if we get my dad to listen and laugh, we did something right.
Right.
We have accomplished greatness right there.
Yeah. Another one that was my favorite, and unexpectedly so for me, was the Chris Isaak episode, because I felt so smart, because I thought, I found a theme in the album, and I was able to follow it through. And again, I hadn't listened to pretty much most of the songs on that album. I was familiar with a couple of them. So that one was a lot of fun to do. And then there's quite a few other ones, but the last one I'll finish up with was the Christmas playlist. Trying to whittle Christmas songs down to 10 tracks is almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But that was such a fun thing to do, just putting that together and then coming together with you two and hearing your playlists, and that was a lot of fun. So
different perspective, different takes on the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to go next because you're kind of transitioning right into mine. So one of mine was that we did our first collaboration with that one with Playlist Wars, and Brian Colburn came on and gave us that recorded audio he did, which was awesome and helped us out, and we hope we can return that favor. One of the things we'll get to later is one of the things we want to try to do this year, but that was our first dip into trying to incorporate somebody outside of our podcast, and it was great. So I liked that. And then I love our the way we do it. It's fun for us because our setup where we each pick something. I love our format, but the two that I wrote down that were the most memorable to me were the Vacation series and the Spooktacular series, because the Vacation series is where, I mean, I said on the episode, it's one of my all-time favorite well, both that and Christmas. You could make the argument they're my two favorite movies of all time. I mean, there's others up there, but you could argue that and you would not necessarily be wrong. So I was dying to do those movies, and so it was great and it was fun. The horror one was different because I did not look forward to that month. I did not know it was going to work out that well. I was not interested in most of the movies ahead of time, but it turned out to be a ton of fun, and it let me think to, have that more of that open mind. And plus I loved my choice, which was not a horror movie, but which was the cartoon specials. But how much you two enjoyed that made me feel good too. So
right.
The horror movies, what makes those movies fun, especially like the slasher Jason and Freddy movies, is that those are the ones that we would have the most fun sitting around all together and watching and just making fun of it on the fly, right? It's sort of like we talk about The Room. I mean, those movies are poorly made, but in a funny way, and so you can sit and make fun of the characters and just a little picking out little different things in those movies. And there are some good quality movies too that we talked about as well, but basically those 80s, early 90s movies are hilarious.
And we didn't watch them together, but the fact that we talked about them is what made it
exactly.
Because if I had just sat down to watch those movies and that was it, that would have been pretty bad.
Right.
But taking notes, looking into them a new way, and then having the conversation about them made it totally worthwhile.
Well, and when you're watching, like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I watch stuff, I'm taking my notes, and then I'm also thinking about trying to come up with an angle or something that will make you guys laugh. I'm trying to do something that I think Brad will like this, or I think Pete will get a kick out of that. Yes. So it's almost like you're watching it with you guys in spirit at the very least, because you're going to be talking about it on the upcoming podcast. So you're trying to come up with something that's a little different.
One other thing that stood out to that one for me is that my son is into horror movies, and we watched all of those together in one night straight through. And so it allowed me to have that night where we just bonded and hung out. And he got to see these old movies that he kind of wanted to see, but who knows when he would have got around to it. So that was also nice. Yep. And we just went and saw the new Scream the other night too, by the way.
And?
I liked it a lot.
Did you? Okay.
I mean, it's very much like the others. It's one of those, I love movies that are like, and shows that are self-aware, which Scream always was.
And this Scream was like
to a whole new level, this one, because it's like, so, I mean, it's not perfect, but I was highly entertained for 2 hours. So,
okay. Well, maybe I'll have to check that out, because I was always a fan
of it. Give it a thumbs up.
I was a fan of those movies. So Courtney Cox is in it, correct?
Yeah, and Neve Campbell and David Arquette.
Okay.
But, they're more of there's a new cast of like kids and people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, they call it a requel. It's like a sequel and a reboot at the same time. So they're setting it up for like a new generation, but they still have your people you'd want to see from the old ones as well. And it integrates them all that way.
Did you go to a theater to see it?
We did.
Okay. I didn't know if it was on a streaming service or something.
I don't think it is.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Pete, did you have any?
Yeah, I'd like to chime in because this is the bullet point where I have what my favorite episodes were. We already talked about the Chris Isaak one because the Forever Blue album was an album that I had and kind of forgotten about. And it really caused me to bring that back out and listen to it and re-listen to it. I could also say the same thing about the Weezer album, which was one of my favorites as well. And I think that was a fun episode to do. When it comes to movies, Better Off Dead was the one that stood out as being the movie that I remember just rewatching many, many times as a kid. And then I just kind of shelved it and I didn't even give it much thought until we did this podcast. Watch it again. It held up perfectly. I loved it probably even more than I did back then. And so that had a lot of good stuff, fun stuff to talk about on the episode. And then lastly, I had European Vacation listed because that was the culmination of the whole relationship with Dave, and like we were just giving him shit the whole episode. And
that's a great
that was
choice
a lot
because
of
it
fun.
was totally fun to do, even though I hate that movie. I gave it a
Yes.
go. I had a totally open mind thinking I was going to like it more this time. I didn't. But he came on and was a great sport. And if that's his swan song with us, he did a great job of defending that movie.
He did.
And it was totally fun to do, even if I don't like it.
Yes. We love you, Dave.
Yes, we do. Oh,
All right.
All right.
Gifford.
Well, you kind of tied into our
Oh,
next
right.
topic, I think, unless you have something else to say here.
I do have more.
Oh,
I've
okay.
got one more thing that I wanted to add on the highlights of
Okay.
the show.
Please.
But most of all, what I enjoy about this podcast is when we get feedback from others saying, "Hey, we listened to the podcast," or "I listened to the podcast, and it inspired me to go back and listen to that album or watch that movie or whatever it was that we talked about." Because just with everything going on in the world, like to help kind of facilitate that little escape for somebody else. That's what motivates me the most about the show. It's what I enjoy.
Me too. You actually tied into what I was going to say even more so now. That was a
There you
perfect
go.
comment.
There you go.
boy, we are getting good at this.
And I think, we're talking about ourselves here. It sounds probably stupid, but you made the great
we
point,
are
Pete.
stupid.
We would do this if nobody listened. We would have a ball doing it. But when we hear somebody who does watch or like something, that's what really makes it worthwhile. And that's what we want to try to get more of now. But so you brought that up. So our next topic was to give some shout outs to people or thank people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you brought up not only the Better Off Dead episode, Pete, but also how people rediscover things. And so on Facebook, we threw out the question saying, hey, we're going to have this episode. Does anybody have any favorite episodes? And Danica, who just happens to be my sister,
you can
responded and
rearrange the
said-
letters and spell Canada.
You can. Responded and said that her favorite was Better Off Dead, and it reminded her how much she loved and had forgotten about that movie. And so that's
She
one.
said
I
what
wanted
I
to
just
thank
said.
her too, because as far as I know, I think she's listened to every episode, and she has made comments here and there to me throughout. And so she's one of the people I wanted to definitely shout out to because, well, she's my sister and she's great.
Mhm.
But the fact that she listens is very nice.
Well,
So
and
that's one of mine.
as lovely as your sister is, and I do thank her for listening, from now on, after what Pete said, I'm just going to pretend that it's all of Canada that's listening.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Danica, for listening.
We do have
appreciate it.
listeners in Canada, believe it or not. We do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're played in Tim Hortons in Canada over the PA system.
That's amazing.
I could
that
see
would
that.
be quite a reach. Yeah.
I'll just get my other main shout out of the way here then. So another person who basically has been I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's been basically our number one fan since the day we started. He responds almost every time on Facebook. I work with him, so I don't see him every day, but when I do, he always says, hey, I listened to your episode. I love this. And so Brian, another Brian, just
They're
like
the
you guys,
best. They're the best
They
people.
are. They are.
I couldn't thank him enough for not only listening, but just for he makes me feel like, hey, I'm doing something that's worthwhile because he really enjoys it and he listens every week and he tells me about it. And he said his favorite episode was Vegas Vacation, and I know that he goes there every year. I'm sure he's got some pretty great stories, but he enjoyed when we talked about our trips to Vegas and, could identify with that. Not the movie probably as much as that part, but
Right.
So he's somebody who I definitely wanted to make sure we mentioned here because nobody has, as far as I know, been a bigger supporter or friend to the show than he has.
I think that what we have to do is we have to record an on-location episode in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
Oh, are we taking this on the road?
Well, there you go. Why not?
Well, what we could do, Pete, is we could come on some night and say we're doing it from Vegas, and then
Sure.
nobody would be none the wiser, correct?
Or we could just go to Las Vegas and not even record an episode and just do Vegas.
That's true. And then do a podcast about it when we get back.
Yes.
Excellent.
There's another person who shared some favorite episodes, but I don't know if maybe I should leave that one to you, Gif.
You have it in front of you, so I would go ahead and go with it.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Brad.
well, Courtney said
She
that her
sounds
favorites
hot.
were the Blair Witch Project from the Spooktacular series, which I know why she liked it, because it starts off with some great comedic work, and the 2003 Year in Review, our most recent episode until last week. And I think that she had told you that she liked them because there was something funny about them.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, she listens every week too, and that's great. And we should all thank our wives for supporting us.
Yes.
But
amen.
She interacts here and there on Facebook, and that's great. And I know she often like tweets and retweets stuff too on Twitter.
Yes.
So.
And that
Another
was my
great
number
supporter.
one to give thanks to was my wife, because
Well, now you take it away.
She will come home and say, "Hey, I listened today and this was really funny," or, you need to change this. She definitely gives constructive criticism, would be a nice way to put it. But yeah, she does listen to a lot of our episodes. If she falls behind, she tries to catch up. So yes, thank you very much to Courtney. A couple others I would like to thank, if I could. I know the last time my parents drove down to Arizona for the winter this year, they listened to a few episodes. So thanks, Mom and Dad. I would be remiss if we didn't thank a couple of our high school classmates. Milt, I believe he was sent a sticker for a comment he made online.
Yes.
Also Rhonda. I mean, where would we be without Rhonda?
Don't forget about Rhonda. We would be nowhere without Rhonda in
Right.
life or on this podcast.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Bo and Ro, I think they left a comment one time as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Travis and Rochelle. Also, my friends Gary and Meg, who aren't too far from you, Pete and Rogers, they listen on occasion. And I found out maybe about a month ago, that one of my oldest son's classmates started listening, Ethan, and he was listening to the Tommy Boy podcast we did, and he thought it was very good. So I'm not sure how many more Ethan has listened to, but hopefully he hears this one, and thank you, Ethan, for listening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a couple more to add. Unless is there more on Facebook that you need to read off, Brad?
There's no more on Facebook, but I did have a couple other people I'll just name, but you can go first.
Okay. I would like to thank a really good friend of mine, Paul. Brad, I know you know Paul. Huge Packer fan and a part owner of the Green Bay Packers, as a matter of fact.
We won't hold that against him.
He listens to every episode. He smartly is not on social media. He thinks social media is stupid, so he would not see any of our posts or anything like that. Which is the most intelligent thing I've ever heard, right? But he does often. He'll text me, ask me questions, or just give little additions about the episode. So I know he listens. I'm not sure that his wife Jenna, who is also a great friend of mine, if she listens quite as much, but I know she's listened to a few episodes here and there as well. And then of course you already kind of stole my thunder a little bit, Gifford.
Yep.
On thanking our wives, but number one, most importantly, my number one fan is Jenny. She also listens to the show religiously. What she'll do is that during her lunch hour, she's a dental hygienist, and during her lunch hour, she'll often go for a walk and listen to it while she's on her walk. And then I also hear feedback on it as well. Usually it's positive. I think she enjoys the show. So
yeah, same with Court. Usually it's pretty
all
positive.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I am thanking my wife, but she does not listen every week. But she is a wonderful supporter, and she even listens in the car with me when we go on like a long trip. We knocked out several on the way to St. Louis.
Yes.
Which I didn't think she'd want. I mean, I wasn't going to listen to them again, but she wanted to. So she's more than willing to support and listen, but she doesn't listen every week. That's all the difference. The other people I was going to say, my sister is married, and her husband, Craig, is also, I don't think he's listened to all of them, but he often texts me and has interacted on Facebook more than once. And I really appreciate him. I know that when we did our vacation one, he texted and like said that he had to go watch it or wanted to watch it then, and he thought it was really funny. And that I think the Chris Isaac one like totally made him want to go listen to that again right away, because he hadn't listened to it for so long. So
Sure.
the other ones, then I mentioned my dad and my mom, and this show isn't really their cup of tea, but we do
No.
talk about our memories and stuff. And especially for the first couple months, I don't know if they ever listen anymore or not, but they definitely gave it a go. And they listened to a lot of episodes that I wouldn't even think they'd want to. In fact, well, I guess they did listen to one not long ago because they watched we did the Breakfast Club in November,
Yep.
and they actually watched the Breakfast Club, which I was shocked by.
Wow, that's amazing.
So they're listening to some still. But so, when we talk about movies and music and stuff, most of that is not stuff they care about, but they are, they're good parents. They're supportive still. And so I appreciate that. And then I don't know who this last person is, but we always have a person in Germany who listens to every episode. And I love that. And so if you're out there, German, we thank you.
Danke
To the
schön.
German, know who you are.
Yes. Danke schön.
The German says to wait here.
Oh, and then finally, we've already talked about him, but my last one is Dave. I just want to again thank Dave for all the work he put into helping this get off the ground and how flexible he was in letting us go on and working with us and helping with us. And again, we wouldn't be anywhere where we are without Dave.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave.
And, him leaving, while it was a sad time and a surprise, I mean, if you're looking for silver linings, Gifford, you probably wouldn't be here if he hadn't done that. So,
That's true.
it one bad outcome led to another good outcome. And so,
As
even
they say,
Steven.
one door closes and a window opens or something. I don't know. Something like that. Usually people need to open a window when they're around me. I know that. So, and based on your story you told from Vegas, that would hold up.
That's right. That's true.
You don't remember
Go back to the Las
story you
Vegas
told?
episode, and
I don't know, I
and
totally just got
listen,
lost
If you don't
there.
get that joke, it will make a lot more sense. But
It will make a
I
lot more
get it.
sense. Ah,
All right, we just have a little bit more to go through then. So that's enough of the again, I want to remake the point that I'm not trying to sound like, have we made any money on this show? No.
no.
Do we have a
Not
million
yet.
listeners? No. I'm not trying to sound like we're self-congratulating ourselves, but we're happy with what we've done because it was fun. And the point of this is to actually give back and thank all the people who have supported us along the way. So that's what this episode really is about, and I hope that message is coming across.
That's correct.
Yes. And now since we've thanked them, what now we should fleece them.
So this is our new announcements here for season 2.
As we
Now-
head into the next season.
Do you guys have any specific goals for season 2? Because I have 2.
I do plan to buy out Jeff Bezos and be able to send William Shatner into outer space again.
That's not the
Ah.
kind of goal I was talking about.
Okay.
I
My-
really
one
haven't
of-
thought about my goals, so I'm going to let you take this one off.
All right. Well, the
and
2
run with
goals
it.
I have. One is we talked about how we had that one where we collaborated with Playlist Wars. We all agree we're going to try to incorporate some guests this season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
So that's one. And the idea is, if we do our regular 4 episodes a month, and 3 of them are the 3 things that we pick to talk about, sorry.
Talk to pick
That
about it. I
other
love it.
episode, it would be great to have a guest on and at least either get into what they picked or have them just, even if we don't have time to like watch or whatever, have them just share something from the year we're talking about that's important to them. And it could be a friend, but it could be like another podcast and promotion or whatever that they want to come on. So we want to work in some other people so it's not just us 3.
We
Right?
know audience.
we're bored.
Our audience is sick of us at this point. we need some fresh
I hope
blood.
not. I hope not.
The other goal that I have is that we've made clear here tonight how much we appreciate when people talk to us about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to build that community more and love to see more interaction and trying to figure out where we can get that from too. Because are there people on Twitter, or are they on Facebook, or are they on somewhere else? Or is there another way we can get them to respond more? And so we're going to be putting out a lot of things like that to try to get people that they want to be on the show, but also just to try to like respond and say, I mean, you don't even have to listen to the episode, but if we ask a question like, what did you like from this year? Talk about it. Let us know.
Mhm.
And then we, work that in. So having that community would be fantastic.
It would help if you listen to the episode.
Well,
That'd
of
be great.
course. Of course. But can you respond to a question even if you don't?
Yes.
You can.
Yes, you can. We don't have any rules.
All right. So this next thing that Gifford hinted at then kind of ties into those two goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have put out, a lot of podcasts have what's called Patreon, or there's another one called Buy Me a Coffee, where we're not looking to get rich. We're not going to quit doing it if nobody gives us one penny. We're going to keep doing it no matter what. But we do pay a slight amount of money to do this, and there's other things we could do. And so we are going to just throw out the idea, if you would like to support our show.
Yes.
And so there is a website called Buy Me a Coffee, and we actually will change it on our website when you go to it. If you do, it's called Buy Me a Beer, because I don't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
I
don't
do
drink
drink coffee.
But we all
Screw
drink
you,
beer.
Pete. Yes.
Yeah,
we all
And it's
drink
just
coffee.
more fun.
It's like beer.
Yeah. And so if you were to go to this website, and we will be putting the link out, and we'll be adding it to our Linktree page where all our links to our sites are, you have two different ways that you could support us. And does one of you want to share one of those ways?
Sure. So
Thank
there's two different ways. There's just a nice support tab where you can go in and buy us a beer. And you can buy 1, 2, 5, however many you want. And that is greatly appreciated. The other option is we've got two different membership options, the junior and the senior. And
Keeping
this
with
is,
the yearbook theme.
yes. So,
Oh, I see what you did there.
mhm. So they're a monthly subscription. The first one is set at $3, and the other one's at $7. And when you purchase a subscription at either of these levels, you will be privy to some additional content that we will be adding to that site, whether it be in the form of posts or pictures or little drop-ins we may do for, kind of like a short little podcast. We haven't quite decided everything we're going to add in there, but that's going to be one of the things we're going to be adding this year as far as content-wise.
Are we going to be doing a pin-up calendar, Gifford?
I hope not.
So everything you just said is part of that, the lower level. The higher level membership is because what could you do or get out of that one if you joined?
I believe that one we would have
You get all the
on.
same stuff,
Right.
plus.
Where you have an opportunity to be on with us, correct? Is that
Yes,
what we were going with?
you could basically almost design an episode by saying, here's the topic I like from that year, and then come on and talk about it with us. Or if you're somebody who doesn't want to be on the show but still has something you want, you could even just give us stuff to talk about, like give us homework, and then we could talk about it for you, I guess,
Right.
giving you that option.
Yes.
So we're going to see how it goes. We're
Right.
not going to beg, and we're not, but if let's say we do make any kind of money at all, what are we going to do with it?
Well, primarily, we'll first pay off our subscription. Brad said earlier that there is a little bit that we pay to do this. It's like a subscription fee that we pay. It would go towards that, and then some other pretty small expenses. And then we would look at if there's more over that, we would put back into the show, potentially in the form of marketing the show, like Facebook marketing, that something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe get a big, huge billboard in Los Angeles or
Like Tommy Wiseau.
like Tommy Wiseau. Yep.
Or
Maybe we
we'll,
could get him on the
It worked
show.
out. It worked well. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. If we get
or
him
we'll
on the
take
show.
one out of Yogurt's playbook from Spaceballs and get into merchandising. Merchandising. So,
You know,
yeah.
or
could do
even
that.
I was also
Possibilities
thinking
aren't limited.
if there's nothing else to do beyond that, we might do some certain drives and give like to charity if there's actually, if we actually get some money and have extra money,
Right.
we're not going to keep it. It's either going to go into the show or be donated or something beyond that.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that we would do with it. But number one, the biggest thing is on this site, if you go on there and join with us, that's one of those places where we can build community. We can really have more interaction there, even. It can be one-on-one. And we'll try to put out some things that are interesting. And, that's the idea, right?
Yeah. Try to give you a little extra bang for your buck, basically. If you're willing to put some skin in the game, we'll put some
We will.
extra product out there.
And to be clear, the podcast still is and always will be free.
Yes.
That's not
Yeah.
changing. This is
Right.
just people that like to give and be nice and support somebody. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to
I am
see,
just
to see where we
speaking
go
of
with
this.
this. Yeah.
I am a patron on the Patreon page of a fellow podcast that I listen to every week and love. And I feel very good about supporting them and giving back to them. And so that's part of why I look at this as, if you're like me, then, you might, it costs me very little,
I
Right.
think
but it helps,
I think
it helps
Brad, you-
them and it lets them know that I'm out there and that I am with them. And, so, and it's
Brad,
fun
I think-
because they do a lot of posts on their Patreon page where it's just for the people who are the members and then you can interact and then they do shout outs. And so this isn't Patreon, by the way, we're using the Buy Me a Coffee website. But it's the same basic concept. So,
Right.
I think you can go ahead and repeat the name of that podcast just for our listeners, because I know they're a podcast that's helped us out, right?
Right.
Okay, well, we've said it many times already, but yeah, we've
Do it
talked
again.
about Playlist Wars, and I love Playlist Wars, and yes, I am a patron of Playlist Wars, and so
Playlist Wars. Got it.
and there's
Yeah.
other podcasts that I listen to that I may end up becoming a supporter of as well at some point, but that's the one who has struck a chord with me the most in this first year of this whole thing.
Journey.
Right.
All right. Excellent. Now that we're done asking for money, what are we going to talk about next?
I don't have anything else to add.
Well,
I
we
thought-
could give a little preview of what's coming up next
Oh,
month.
yes.
Sneak preview. That's what I thought we were going to talk about in season 2.
Okay.
What to look forward to. We got to leave them
Well, take it away,
dangling
Pete.
the cliffhanger. Well, I got a couple of things that I'm looking forward to. I am really looking forward to one of the years that we've got slated. By the way, we've laid out what we think that the plan for the year is. Anything is subject to change, but we think that we know what the years are going to be, what the episode formats are going to be. And I'm really excited about the 1991 episode.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
gonna
the
be-
best year of all time. It had everything. It had the best music. It had the greatest sports here in Minnesota.
Movies.
And movies, just a tremendous amount to unpack. We might have to do 2 or 3 episodes on 1991.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the
haven't
thing
even
is-
picked my thing yet. It's so hard to whittle it down to
To
one
show how much
item.
we love that year, when we very first did this podcast, that was the very first episode we ever recorded with Dave, was 1991.
Correct.
And that is one that some people have heard because it was out for a couple of weeks, but then it's now one of our lost ones. But we're going to do it again because there's so many things to talk about from that year. And by planning out the year, like you said, Pete, that way we can get out, this is the year we're going to be doing next month. And that's the way we can hopefully get, if anybody would like to be on our show, to get them an idea of here's what we're going to talk about. And you could then hopefully contact us and become one of those people.
Right?
That's right. One of those people.
I'm looking forward to, since you threw out a specific year, we're going to do 1987. I'm going to throw that out as the year I'm looking forward to as well. Coincidentally, the 2 years we just named are the years the Twins won the World Series.
Yep.
Those were
Yeah,
both
that's not
great
even
years
wrong.
for more reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
a year you're looking forward to, Giff?
Well, of the ones we've picked so far, I think 99 is going to be a pretty good one.
That's another year that was amazing for movies. I have a whole book
Yeah.
about it.
Right. So that's the one that jumps out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So 91, 99, 87, those are three that we're going to be going with. But coming up next month, we're having
How are we going
a
to kick off
special
season 2?
We're having a
Mm.
special month, kind of like our Spooktacular and our summer vacation. We are going to go with February. February holds the holiday of Valentine's Day. So we are going with a Ladies' Choice Month.
Ooh la la.
Indeed. So we have tasked our wives with coming up with a subject that they would like to cover or have us cover. And we are going to get into that. I think it's safe to say that when we do my wife's topic, she is going to come on the podcast. She's going to sit down next to me, and we are going to, the four of us are going to discuss her topic.
So speaking
gonna
of
be
guests,
a little
she is
intimidating.
going to be our first one of this year, most likely.
She will be the first one. Yes.
Now, my wife and Pete's, I do not think are going to join. They did pick things that are, I think, hopefully excited for us to discuss them, but they
Yes.
they would rather not be on the show.
I don't. Yeah. I don't think she will. I'll ask her again though. Maybe maybe she'll have.
Mind, I thought you had said already clearly she wouldn't, but
She said
she
that in the
changes her mind.
past, but I'll ask. I don't think that she'll do it though.
Well,
I
here's
am
the
not.
thing. Here's the thing, Pete. Courtney's pick will be before Jenny's. So Jenny will have a chance to listen to it. Maybe that'll spur her on.
It'll inspire her.
Yeah, we can get her on the show. Because I think it would be wonderful to have them all on. I know Kim's not going to. And I respect her decision not to. But I think it would be wonderful.
Maybe I'll get my daughter to come on for a minute instead.
Yeah, there you go. I just think it'd be wonderful to have them on to discuss their topic because they may care about it a little bit more than we do. I hate to put it that way. Might have
Wow.
a better. Might have.
That's going to be the fun of it, though.
Yeah, it could be.
Just like the horror movies for me.
Yeah, that's true. You had a lot of fun with that, didn't you?
I will say, though, Your Wife's Choice, Gifford, is a movie that we would have picked and talked about anyway someday,
I know.
probably.
I know.
So,
Yep.
nothing out of the ordinary on that one.
No, not at all. So these were just choices. It wasn't based on a year. It's just something that they picked out of all of pop culture that they wanted us to discuss. So
But if we have been doing this for a year and we want to thank them, what a better way to start season 2 than to give them a voice, even if they don't use their voice.
Right. Yes. So that'll be coming up in February.
All right.
It's going to be great.
Amazing. I cannot wait. Is that all we got?
That's all I got.
I think so. That's all I
Is that
got.
a wrap? Should we play
Just
a little
again,
Preacher
it was a
Row?
wonderful year. It
Oh.
has enriched my life
Yes.
with you guys. And
Your life is already pretty enriched, Brad.
thank you to everybody who has ever listened to our show.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you to Preacher Row for providing the score for our little show here. So
Yes.
here you go. Let's throw it on. Preacher Row.
All right.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys.
Bye. Bye.
Standing on my own 2 feet. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last.